Okay, so I'd just like to welcome you all and welcome to Diver Dave's Zoom meeting. And we're here this evening to talk about waders. And as we know, well, I'm sure we all know, but certainly I know, with spending the last 30 years on the riverbank, that waders has been one of my greatest nightmares. It doesn't matter how expensive they are. It doesn't matter how well you try to look after them. There seems to be problems with them. But with talking to Dave Gordon, or Diver Dave, as we all know him in the industry, I've realized a few things over the last number of years. And in fact, before I met Dave, he met many of my waders. Yeah. Because Dave, Dave, um, Dave runs a workshop in Aberdeen, and he repairs waders and does all types of things. But I just wanted to say welcome to everybody from around the world. It is amazing to have Canadians and Austrians and Scottish and English and Irish and German and Dutch people here at this meeting tonight, which just shows us that really waders are a massive problem. So I want to say welcome to you all. I'm not going to say very much tonight because, of course, I don't really know very much about waders apart from sending them to Diver Dave to get them repaired. And so thank you, Dave, for joining us.
No problem at all.
So I have a little running order, as anybody that knows me would expect me to have something like this.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. But it's a very loose order. And the first thing I'd really like to do is just to welcome Dave and just ask the question, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Dave, and how you got involved with becoming, a lot more than the wader repair guy, but that's what we know you as. So can you just give us a little bit of background, please?
Well, about 25 years ago, I was running a dive company. And part of the business there was fixing diving suits. And I went off to all the manufacturers to learn to fix diving suits. Diving suits are just waders, but with arms and a head on, and they're 10 times heavier, a lot stronger, and they last for 30 years. If I was to go to the Arctic next week, I would just service my dive suit and go, and it's 25 years old. Mm-hmm. And nothing in angling would last like that. So fully 25 years ago, aged uncle in the riverbank told me to go and buy a hardy rod, give it to my son, a hardy reel to give it to my grandson, and I followed his advice, and I went off and bought hardy rod, reel, line, and a pair of waders. And I've still got the reel. I broke the rod, and the waders lasted 3 weeks. And I went to the tackle shop I bought them from and said, I bought these waders from you, they're lovely waders, but they leak. And their response was, we know where you fish, you've punctured them. Because in those days, waders didn't leak from the seams, they leaked because anglers punctured. So I took them back to the workshop and we pressure tested them, and we found every single leak, every single seam leaked badly after 3 days fishing. So I fixed them like I would fix a diving suit, and it was great. On the salmon fishing forum, about a week later, somebody was talking about waders and how they were going to fix them with kitchen sealant and silicon sealant off a tap and all these kind of things. I responded by saying, that's not how you do it, that won't work. He basically challenged me, saying, well, if you could fix it, how would you do it? And I explained what I would do. He sent me his waders, I fixed them, and then he went back on the salmon fishing forum and raved about what a great job we did. And we hope to get 4 or 5 waders a week to keep us in fishing. And now we do an awful lot more than 5 waders a week. So we're kept very busy with it. And there's 3 retired guys. We all worked together before. We all work together now. And we just have a good laugh fixing waders. But that's how it all kicked off. And it's been very busy ever since.
So, Dave, I came to your workshop about 10 days ago, and that was the first time that I'd met you in your workshop. And when I arrived, it was just amazing to see how many waders were there. I don't know what I expected, but I thought maybe this was some, little part-time job that you were doing, Dave, but I didn't realize quite the amount of busyness that was around wader repair. And that tells 2 things. One, obviously, that there's a great need for wader repair, but of course, the second thing is that that you're obviously very good at what you do because people are sending you them all the time and relying upon you to get them fixed. What I couldn't get my head around was this trolley that received a big one of those massive trolleys that received the post every day that would be full of waders for repair. And this is an ongoing daily basis. And the courier then comes to the workshop to collect all of the fixed ones to be sent back out again every day
That's right.
at 4
They
o'clock.
collect, they collect waders at 4 o'clock every day of the week to go home to wherever they're going to. So it's we've made it efficient with what we've got. It works well for the environment we're in. It works well for the space we have. The problem we have is drying a lot of wet waders because we have to wet them every day. So the way it would work is we'll glue them in the morning, test them in the afternoon, and then we have to leave them overnight to dry and cure fully before the next day when we repeat the process again. We mark the leaks, we add the more sealant to the areas that are giving problems, and basically narrow down the leaks each day until eventually we're dealing with 1 or 2 leaks just. So it's quite efficient. But drying time in Scotland in winter is a problem, obviously.
The day that I came to the workshop, it was actually snowing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But that slows the curing process. It affects the way the glue works. So we have to vary the glue, the sealant, literally every day. We also vary it between neoprenes, breathables, PVC waders, slightly between the sock of a breathable and the breathable part of a breathable wader. So we have to change the glue continually, and we've just learned over the years how to do it. There isn't an instruction manual on fixing waders, and the manufacturers probably are less than happy that they don't sell as many waders these days because we can keep them going. So.
We also discussed this, Dave, whenever I was at the workshop, and um, one of the biggest things that I suppose that you feel that you're doing and that I think is really important is you're recycling waders. That the ones that don't get thrown into the bin and a new pair bought immediately, that you're able to recycle things. And of course, today is about trying to sustain what we have instead of keeping buying new things. And I thought that that was something, a really poignant mark that you made about people repairing things. So
we've got to keep them going. And in many cases, there's not much wrong with them. In fact, the best leak to fix is the one where you get absolutely soaked straight away. That's a big hole. That's a big leak. A big leak, very easy to fix. Lots of small leaks are much more difficult. So fixing one big leak is relatively easy. But a wader gets to the end of its life. There's a company called the Recycled Wader Company, and he collects them from me and turns them into fly wallets and gun bags. And so they rumble on for long enough again afterwards. Which I think the wader's never finished as far as that's concerned.
So let's talk a little bit about repairing waders, Dave, please. So let's talk about the big holes.
Right. So if you get tangled up in a barbed wire fence and tear the wader, a number of ways of fixing it, but 2 or 3 key points. First of all, every glue that you use, super glue, any of the Storm Shores and Aqua Shores, they're water curing glues. Super glues are water curing glue. If you put it in the freezer, it will never cure. All these glues will work faster if you put a drip of water in them. But the outside of your wader is hygroscopically coated so that no water can stick to it. So if you put any of these glues on the outside the wader, they won't stick because they're designed to work with water. So first things first, all repairs have got to be done on the inside the wader. The inside's not hygroscopically coated, so it can now stick to it. First thing is to rub it with a bit of solvent because we want to remove salt, sweat, yesterday's sandwich, whatever stuck to it. Clean it with solvent. The next thing to do is, if the rip is, patch it on the inside. And the idea would be to get the outside of the rip as flat and as clean as you possibly can. We patch it, and then we seal over that patch. Then the important thing, of course, is to test it. You have to test it afterwards because not every repair works every time. If you get caught in a barbed wire fence, you'll almost certainly not just have the rip you can see. You'll almost certainly have stretched the wader as well. And stretching is what kills them. A wader cannot survive 2 seconds of stretching. It will fail straight away. So that's really important. Other thing is that we all forget about is once we've worn the wader for a period of time, they're going to get sweat in them. They're going to get whatever you have to be wearing rubbed on them. And that will generate mold if you leave them wet. So it's really important when you wear your waders to turn them inside out and dry the inside for the outside. It doesn't matter what happens to the outside of the wader. The inside is the most important bit. So dry them on the inside, then worry about the outside afterwards. So that's how we prepare a big hole. Repairing small holes is far more difficult because they're much, much more difficult to find. When you found the small holes, they're relatively easy. You clean the area, put a small dot of glue on. And if you're fixing a pinhole or a fly hook hole in your own waders, really straightforward. First things first, locate it, put a little dot of pen on it. Next thing to do, once you've cleaned it, is got a dot of Aquashore or Stormshore. Any of them will work fine. Put a dot of it on the wader, wet your finger, and rub it into the fabric. So it's in the fabric, not on the fabric. If it's on the fabric, you can peel it off dead easy. So rub it in with your finger. It's not going to be watertight at this stage. Leave it overnight. Once that's cured, do exactly the same thing again and double the size of the area. So you're going from maybe the size of a penny to the size of a 10-pence piece. So maybe at 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters. Same again, rub it in. Not as hard this time. You want to double the thickness of it from nothing to about 0.5 millimeter. Leave it overnight again. Third time, do it for the third time. That's the one that gives it strength. Increase the size by 1 centimeter all around. Rub it in again, and that's seriously permanent. The idea being the first layer isn't on the wader. It soaks right into the fabric, right into the breathable layer. It's now part of the wader, and you couldn't take it off with a grinder now.
Okay, Dave, just one question there. Is there an easy way to find a pinhole in the wader?
No, is the quick answer. Isopropyl alcohol will work with Gore-Tex only. So it won't work on the seams, and it won't work on the socks, and it won't work on probably about 80% of the waders out there. It'll work on some brands. If they're pure white on the inside, you'll find many of the leaks, not all of them, will show up as a dark stain.
Okay.
The only way to do it is like you would do a car tire. You pressurize them with compressed air, and you put soap on the outside. If you fill them with water and hang them from the clothesline, you'll rip the braces off. The other thing, of course, is that
We've tried this.
Yeah, everybody's done it. Everybody's done it. The other thing, of course, is the pressure at the soles of the feet would be far greater than the pressure at the bottom of the zip or halfway up the body of the wader. You'll never get enough pressure high up. So it's important to use compressed air because compressed air was given the same pressure in all directions. Doesn't matter the soles of the feet or the very top of the wader, the pressure is equal. So that's really important. It's taken years to get a good test rig that works efficiently and quickly, and involves 2 very, very large compressors because filling a wader up can take 2 minutes, and if it's a big leak, you're still putting the air in, it's coming out as fast and you can't find it. So massive compressors. If it's very bad, we'll seal off one leg at a time, and try to find exactly where the leak is. There's no point in guessing where the sealant's going to go. You've got to put it in the right place.
Okay, thank you, Dave. So can you answer or tell us a little bit about the most common leaks and where would they be?
Right. The absolute most common leak in waders is at the crotch and the sock join, and that's 100% caused by the fit of the wader.
Okay.
So
which we were going to come to next, so we might as well. It would be great if we could talk about sizing waders for us, please.
Okay, so the wader fails in those areas because the fit isn't perfect. If you go onto a fishing forum and say, which wader should I buy? You'll get people will list off the waders that they currently own. They won't go back on that forum in 2 weeks' time and say, this, they're now leaking. That never happens. So you'll get a list of waders that may or may not fit your body size. I fit some waders well, and there's some makes I can't wear. They just don't fit me. So it doesn't matter how much I want to have a brand on my chest. It isn't going to happen. I can't wear those waders. And that'll be the same for all of us. Equally, they change the cut of the waders every few years. And you'll find that one wader 1 year will have enormous socks on it. They'll change that because they're far too big, because we've all complained, and they'll have tiny socks on in 3 years' time. So find a wader that works for you, get somebody to measure it properly, and that's it. When it comes to measuring the wader, you need to be able to do what you do on the riverbank, wearing what you wear on the riverbank with those waders. So you put the waders on and you sit down, because that's one of the most stressful positions for a wader. The second thing you do is put one knee on the ground, as if you're returning a 40-pound salmon, and you lean forward slowly. Because as you lean forward, you'll strain the backside. And if the wader fabric becomes tight, then you're going to strain it. When the manufacturers put a model into a wader to make that product look good, they put them into a wader 2 sizes too small for them. So they look thin and they look really good. But that person couldn't walk. That person couldn't cast. They certainly couldn't return a fish. So we've got an unreal impression of what the wader should look like. If you can kneel down, and lean forward without the waders stressing, they'll be fine. However, another thing you've got to think about is they can't be too long. If they're too long, they'll rub between your thighs. And imagine you take your trousers and pull them down by 3 inches, and then, like a rap artist, and try to step onto a stool. You'll find it pulls tight between the middle of your thighs, and that's it, gone at that point. These membranes are incredibly weak. Nothing like as strong as the trousers you're wearing right now. So the fit is absolutely everything. If the fit is right, this should last for 5 years quite comfortably. The major failing in a wader is the seams. The seams let water in. The water then forms mold. The mold grows through the pores of the breathable fabric, talking breathable waders, and eventually that will delaminate, where the various layers will separate. The way the fabric is made is that there's 3 layers. Starting with the middle layer, it's like PTFE plumber's tape. It goes by a number of different names. Teflon is one of the names for it. All it is stretched, very thin Teflon. The inner layer is to protect the Teflon from you. The outer layer is to protect the Teflon from the environment. So when we're talking about a 5-layer wader, we're not talking about a bit of that fabric glued together 5 times. We're talking about 5 layers of that PTFE, that Teflon, with 1 layer of nylon on the outside, 1 layer of nylon on the inside. The tighter the weave of that nylon on the outside, the less able it is for thorns and the like to penetrate it. But the heavier the fabric's going to be, and the less it's going to be able to fold. The risk of that is, if it does crease, it's like folding a piece of paper over a ruler. Eventually, the membrane will fail because of that creasing action. It's down to the size and the fit of the wader. That's the key to getting them mold.
Okay, it's amazing because Natasha, can you remember a time I was in Austria with you, and I'd ordered some waders, and I had very quickly measured myself, probably without any clothes on. And when these waders arrived at the hotel that I was staying in, they were really tight. And I was teaching Natasha on the banks of one of the rivers, and I wasn't eating for days, and they were all a little bit concerned about me. And I says, no, it's not that. I'm on this immediate wader diet because when I dropped my fly box or something, I actually couldn't bend over, and I was going from Austria to Norway direct, and I was on the road for about 20 days. And these waders, there was no choice. These waders had to fit me. And I think I lost about 3 or 4 kgs in about a week. It was just incredible. And this became known as the wader diet, which I've actually written about.
Wow.
I think I've lost 20 kgs since that wader diet began. But it was the waders and not being able to fit into them correctly, which instigated this. And of course, I mean, those waders did last. They were a good pair of waders because, of course, they were massively too tight for me, Dave. But you're right, because of course, you're right. But what I mean is that we all want to buy a pair of waders that look good on us, don't look very baggy on us, and that, don't make us look bigger than we possibly think we are. But what you're saying is that it's actually the wrong way of doing it. We need waders to be a little bit big for us.
Absolutely. If they're too big, they'll rub and wear, but they should be the right size. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, those tight waders you were wearing couldn't breathe.
Yes.
Even though they were breathable fabric, they couldn't get a vapor pressure on the inside of it because the wader was touching you. So those waders would have been, you'd be as well wearing a non-breathable, because that wader could not have breathed. It wasn't possible.
Interesting. Okay, and then
What
when you
if?
sit down, your legs blow up because, of course, the air can't go anywhere. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is not good if you fall in.
No.
You'll end up with your feet on the surface and the heavier part of your body then sinking. So there's a lot of safety issues with getting something that's right. Too big, you're going to fill it with water. Yes, it's not going to pull you under. The water in the wader weighs nothing until you try to get out the water, but it'll make swimming much more difficult. It's as if you're dragging a bucket behind you. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So fit is really important.
Okay, so I'm going to just stop just for a second there, Dave, and ask, does anybody have any questions on what you've said so far?
Can I say one? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yes.
Fiona.
All right. When I'm fishing, I mean, I'm small. I'm only 4'9", and I have trouble getting waders to fit me. I get them to change the feet and such like, and eventually I'll get you to do it. But when you're drying your waders, when you've come home from your fishing, and if you turn them inside out, the band, above the feet, do you have that up or do you have it down? The
sock.
I don't know what you call it, but the bit above the feet, the bit that.
Oh, the gravel guard.
Gravel guard.
Yes.
Yeah. It won't make any difference at all. No, that's fine. That bit's not made of breathable fabric. It'll make no difference at all.
No. So as long as you turn them inside out.
Yes.
To dry. Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't want to see those spots of either black or red mold appearing. Because although you can rub them with bleach and they'll disappear, they're actually still there. You just change the color.
Yeah.
And it will eventually breach the membrane. And the problem then is it delaminates it with the layers separate.
Right. What I tend to do is I've got my winter waders, which are a lot looser because you're wearing a lot more clothes.
Of course. Yes.
And then in the summer, I change to my summer ones, which are still, a bit loose, but they're smaller because you're wearing less underneath.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the things that really upsets us in the workshop is if we're having a very busy day and somebody says they have to collect their waders now because they're going on a trip. We'll rush and rush. Here outside the workshop with a car with 6 rods on the roof, and they're going on the trip of a lifetime with 6 rods, and they're a triple extra large wader, and they've got 1. And if they burst that wader, there's nobody else wader they can fit. Or if you're very small, very big, having 2 pairs of waders is a massive benefit. Having 4 rods, anybody can borrow anybody's rod and get away with it. But not all of us can use somebody else's wader.
No.
So
no.
I would always suggest have 2 waders with you.
Yeah.
2 rods, great.
Yeah. The biggest problem I have is at the moment it's Sims waders that I wear.
Yes.
But I've always got to, once I buy them, I get them, even though I tell them that I'm a small foot, I've then got to send them back to change the size of foot because it's size, the smallest boot you can get is a size 6. But shoe-wise, I'm only a size 3. So, and that's fine. But it's the balance in the river, you've got to think about.
What size wader do you wear?
Oh God, I can't remember.
If you're 4 foot, the chances are it'll be a small or a medium. And there are manufacturers out
definitely
there.
small. Definitely small.
There's manufacturers out there who make a small wader with a choice of feet. You can have standard foot, which is, let me see, it's 5 to 7. But you can get that same wader, exactly the same wader, with an extra small sock or an extra small sock off the shelf. They make that wader. It's available out there.
Which company is that, Dave?
That's Vision.
Okay, got it.
Vision
yeah.
Vision do small and medium with the choice of extra small or extra small socks, but only in the smaller sizes.
Right. The other problem you have sometimes is, again, because you're small, the leg length.
Yes.
Even when they're small, it's the leg length that's a problem. It's not a problem in the winter ones, because as you said, you don't know what the conditions are going to be like. and you need all that extra space, you know, for kneeling down, for whatever. If you catch a huge fish, you know, you need to be able to be mobile.
Yes.
It's more an issue sometimes in the summer.
Yeah, the easiest alteration we do is shortening the leg of a wader.
Right.
We do that every day of the week, and it is the easiest alteration to do.
Right.
It's easier to make them shorter than to make them bigger.
I will remember that.
Yeah,
Got your number.
Very easy alteration.
I think I sent you an email about it. So anyway, I've got your details.
Yeah, it's a nice,
Just
easy alteration, that one.
So just one quick one there before we talk about wader resizing and
Yes.
sock alternations. Just a quick one before we leave, because you know the way you said, Dave, that to not bring just one pair of waders on the trip of a lifetime.
Yes.
Absolutely. But what I've also found is that because I'm not an easy size to fit into waders either, that the waders that I do bring, I bring at least 2 pairs, yes, but 1 pair I will have in my carry-on rucksack, which also means that if my bag gets lost when I'm traveling, then at least I'll always have my wading boots and my waders in my rucksack, because I can live with pretty much anything else, because as you said, you'll always get a rod from someone, but my wading jacket, boots and waders go into my carry-on bags.
Yep, makes absolute sense. Absolute sense. I was away to say something there, and I've totally forgotten what it was. Doesn't matter.
So Dave, can we talk a little bit about resizing waders, or making them larger or making them smaller? I know we've talked about making them shorter, but when I was in the workshop, you were talking about that sometimes you need to make rather major changes to the size of waders.
Yes.
In girth.
Yes. Well, we're finding people are getting bigger. That's it. And the manufacturers aren't keeping up with the sizing. They make the popular sizes. Of course you would, wouldn't you? You would make the ones that sell fast. But we have some customers who can't get a wader. And so we've got a series of waders that work well for alterations. Not every wader can be altered, but there are a series of makes and models of waders that have got very straight seams at the sides, and we can cut them from the armpit down to the knee, so that we can have a gradual taper, which comes up from a dart to a parallel when it gets the right size of them, so that they can have up to 12 inches added to each side of the wader. So we can put 24 inches onto a wader. Relatively easy. It's a slow one, but we can do it. And we're also finding those people typically would need the leg length altered at the same time. So we can do that. We can take the feet off and put a different set of feet on, so that basically the key to it is making it fit properly, and we can do that. For the very tall people, we can add a few inches in. It's generally easier to make them shorter than it is to make them longer, but we can do that. We want them to look right. And of course, if you're shortening a wader, the temptation is that if it goes wrong, it looks like a pair of +4s. So, you know, we've got to taper it a little bit as well and make it look right. But adding into a wader is a job we do literally every week of the year now. And we can go up to a waist of about 70 inches. We've had that a couple of times now. Making a wader shorter is easy. Making a wader narrower, to us, you know, in the body, it doesn't make sense, because if you need to go smaller, there is another wader out there that probably fits you. We're loath to alter a wader because somebody's bought one cheap in a sale, when there's a wader that is out there that fits them perfectly. You know, that's not really a business we want to get into.
Okay. You're not a dressmaker, Dave. You're somebody that wants to try and help people with the waders.
Yeah, they've got to be right, and we're happy to do that. Yeah, we're happy to do it. We also feel it's got to be at a price that's reasonable, because you know we're not in the business of saying, you know, that alteration is going to be the same kind of price as we for a diving suit. You know, we could demand 3 or 4 times what we do for a diving suit, but I don't feel there's a need to. You know, 3 retired blokes working together, we can make it a reasonable price and still make a bit of money and still have a bit of a laugh. You know, still have a bit of fun with it.
So can I ask another question?
Yes, fire away.
Okay. Just because of my size and such, like, if I wanted, my waders are fine just now, but if I wanted a new pair of waders, do I need to send you measurements, or are you better actually seeing the person? Because I am in Scotland.
Yeah, I never see any of my customers. It's all
Right.
done by measurements. We send out measurements. We send out requirements for measurements. We tell you exactly how to do it, and we've made it actually a little bit more awkward than it needs to be. I'll tell you the reason why. If I asked any angler what his inside leg measurement is, he would tell me, but his trouser shoes are worn over, not over the boots like the waders are. The boots are the outside of your
Exactly.
waders.
Yeah.
So we get the measurement to the ankle bone to make it as awkward as possible, because you've got to then measure. Equally, everybody's got to measure exactly the same way. So we tell people you must measure over a t-shirt or shirt. You
Right.
must measure from the crotch to the ankle bone and give me a normal shoe size. If
Right.
you add a bit on, it means nothing. So if everybody does it exactly the same way, I know you need a jumper, and I know you're going to wear warm clothes, and I know you're going to wear thick socks. All that's standard. But if I get a baseline measurement for you, that's exactly right. In
Right.
most cases, I'll find a waders that fits you. And if I can't, we can get one that's really close and say, either we wait the 2 weeks for the delivery of the small with the extra small sock, or we clip the socks off and put a pair of extra small socks on. If we're changing the length of the waders at the same time, there's no point in waiting for them to send me one, for me then go and cut it up anyway. We're better off just taking the waders, cutting a bit off, put the socks back on, testing it, job done.
Right. Okay. Good. Good. Sounds good.
It's nice.
Sounds
It's
good to me.
straightforward.
Thank you for that. So when I was talking to you in the workshop, I was amazed that you were talking to me about there's a lot of people have neoprene allergies. And
Yes.
I think it's something that we really wanted to highlight here in this Zoom meeting as well, because I personally have experienced this in a very nasty, nasty way. It was 2018. My mother had passed away, and I developed really itchy feet. And nobody had any idea what was wrong with me. And this went on for months and months. And it was really strange because I think we probably blamed my mother's passing with, upset, grief, run down in the body. But what we didn't realize was, and I was being treated for all sorts of things, including scabies, because I travel so much. People thought maybe I have scabies. So I was treated for that. And at one point, my feet started to leak fluid and expand rapidly, including my legs. And I was in Scotland at this time, and I was rushed into to Ninewells Hospital in Dundee with septicemia. So this is really important that people are aware of this, and we should do some more in this and maybe write about it or put it in a few magazines, because this could have ended my life. And it's all because I developed, over years of wearing waders, a neoprene allergy to the feet of my waders,
Yes.
which I'd never heard about, even with being in the business for 30 years. And after that, I then met a few other people who had a similar problem, but thankfully didn't have to go so far before they discovered what it was. So talk to me a little bit about what you do, Dave, with you're very aware of neoprene allergy.
Yes.
But you also have a way of fixing this. And maybe just before you speak, the only thing that I could discover that fixed this for me was to wear a pair of sealskin socks, which are breathable,
Oh,
and they protect my feet from the moisture. And what was happening was, it was when I was sweating inside my socks, then the sweat would touch the neoprene. And when it was wet, this was causing me the contact dermatitis, which then, of course, caused eventually the septicemia. So the neoprene socks have done really quite well for me since 2018. But you have another solution, Dave.
Yeah, we've tried 3 different things. The easiest is to take the socks off and put on latex socks off a diving suit, off a sailing suit. It's a very quick job. It's a very low cost job. The problem with it is these latex socks don't last. You will not get a season out of them, which means that one day you're going to walk into the water and it's going to flood the suit, because they don't pinhole, they just split. It works for a quick fix, but it isn't acceptable. We then tried completely sealing the sock with a sealant that we use, and that does work as well, but it takes a long time. It makes the sock very hard and not acceptable, I don't think. So what we're doing now is taking a dead wader, we cut it up, and we make a sock out of the breathable fabric to a pattern of a sock and bond that on. And that's working really well. We're not the world's fastest at making these socks. You know, we've got to get a sock in your size, cut it up. We've got a pattern for most sizes now, to be honest, but we make the sock based on the standard pattern of a Sims type sock or a Vision type sock, which have got the single seam at the back with a V at the bottom. We make the sock like that out of breathable fabric, seal it up, bond it to the wader, pressure test it, get it watertight, and that works really well. The unfortunate thing about neoprene allergy is it only happens if you're exposed to neoprene a lot. So cruelly, it happens to gillies and guides and very keen anglers. And it's these people that are affected by it worse. But over winter, we make half a dozen socks. So we've got a few sitting about the workshop. We can pop onto waders, and it's working nicely. It solves a problem that we didn't know about ourselves. And now we know about it, and we've come up with a solution to it. So a dead wader becomes new socks eventually.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so Dave, we have a few more points, and then of course we'll take some questions. So you have two things I'd like to mention, two products. Well, one is the Repel spray that you use.
Yes.
And the second thing I'd like you to talk about, if you don't mind, is your 2-year guarantee that you have on the new waders that you sell.
Okay.
And well, the second one, I've never heard of a 2-year guarantee on any waders before, which is unique in the industry. But let's talk about the Repel product that you have first, please.
Okay. We need to understand how a breathable wader works. And breathable waders work really quite basically. Water molecules are bigger than water vapor. And for that water vapor to pass through your wader's got to be clean on the inside and it's got to be dry on the outside. If your wader is wet on the outside, the water vapor will hit that layer of water and it can't pass through it. So a breathable wader, 2 years old, is no longer a breathable wader. The waterproof repellent on the outside, they call it a durable water repellent, will have gone. So we were asked by a number of customers, could you reproof my wader, was the term used. And there are a number of products out there, and not all of them are suitable for breathable fabrics. Most of them are not designed for waders because the tent market, the jacket market is many, many times bigger. We looked and we couldn't find a product. And the problem with most of these products was either they were wax or silicone based. And if you rub wax or silicone on the outside your wader, you block the pores and no longer breathe. Or they required heat. And I'm sure you know, if you take a wader and put it in a hot tumble dryer, the seams will all fall off and it will fall to bits. They can't cope with much heat. They can't cope with a sunny day, and they can't cope with lying on the back shelf of your car on a sunny evening. The seams will peel off. So we looked about for a long time. We got a number of samples. We tried and tried and tried. Eventually we found a water repellent that would throw the water off very well, but didn't require heat. You can spray this onto your wader on a cold day, allow it to dry, and then give another 4 hours to cure, and that will throw the water off. But if you give it a bit of heat, the reaction will happen much better. Now, the way to think about this product is it's a net. The net is the resin, or the product that bonds it to the wader. And the water repellent is tennis balls. And over a period of time, you're going to wear that tennis ball away till it's lower than the edges of the net, and it'll stop working. Now, you've got two choices at that stage. You can go and buy some more and spray it on, or you can simply take it and put it somewhere warm again. And that little tennis ball will turn around a little bit, and the reaction will start all over again. So we found a product that could cope with waders, low temperatures, that would allow the water vapor to pass through the pores of the wader, and that lasted a reasonable amount of time. Now, if you're going to walk through long grass with it, yes, you will take that and braid it away. So we had to make it cheap. So we managed to find a product that we can sell for, we can post it for £9.50. If you come to buy it from me directly, we charge about £6 for a bottle of stuff. One £6 bottle will treat about 4 waders quite comfortably. You spray it on, leave it to dry, it will cure. And that will allow that vapor transfer again. Now, a couple of things to think about there. Here we go. There's the bottle of it. 250 mils, about £9.50 postage for a single bottle. Now, a couple of important points about it. Breathable waders will only breathe in certain circumstances. They're not going to keep up with you if you're running in them or jogging in them. And I tell people, if your brow is wet or if your shirt is damp, then there's no way your wader is going to be dry inside. And I kind of discovered this in a day in the Spey. When I came back to the hut, everybody was very aware that my legs were wet and, you know, everybody thought my waders were leaking. I hadn't even been in the water that day. So you need to wear clothing underneath it that will allow the vapor transfer to take place. And there are loads of products out there you can wear. I'm no expert on that. But a wickable layer followed by the wader, treat it the outside so that the water can transfer through the membrane. And it's been working very well for us. It also works on jackets, hats, anything it can soak into, it will work. The only thing I don't say it works well on is shoes, because it abrades off shoes too quickly. But yeah, we do a lot of the water repellent. It's claimed to fix leaks. I don't market it for that, and I actually don't think it will do. But it will allow the water in a jacket to run off more rapidly, we would hope, so it doesn't get a chance to soak in. It's not designed as a waterproofer, it's just a water repellent. But there's a lot of research, a lot of time to take it. We've found one that really works well for our needs.
Okay, and just a quick note on that, because Dave would like to give away a bottle of this product, the Repel. So what I'd like you to do, please, is we're going to put you in a draw. So everybody just send me a quick email after this. Hopefully that you have my email address. If you just or message me whatever way you can, just send me a quick note to say that you were on the Zoom, and we'll put you in a raffle and we'll send you a bottle of Repel. Okay. Thank you, Dave.
No problem. No problem.
Next up, then, talk to us about this guarantee on your new waders. This is just amazing. It's mind-blowing for me, because honestly, I've never had a pair of waders that's lasted me any longer than 1 year.
We used to sell a lot of different makes of waders. And there are some waders out there that don't last for 2 years. That's just a simple fact. Other things to think about is not every wader is suitable for every environment. So for instance, if you're a south coast of Ireland bass angler, trolling across rocks, barnacles, salt water, your wader needs to be one of the upper waders in a range. So for instance, if you buy a low-cost 3-layer travel wader, it's going to fail. So the first thing we'll ask an angler when we're selling a wader is, what do they intend to do with it? We don't know the environment you're using it in. If you're a salmon angler, trout angler, salmon anglers like manicured banks, trout anglers like jungles. We want to know if you're freshwater. We get some feedback there.
Yeah, just 1 second there. Just hang on just 1 second. I'm trying to find Raymond to put him on mute. Raymond, can you hear us? I'm seeing if I can find Raymond on the screen so that I can mute him. Where is he? 1 second. And we see. Let me see.
Scroll down.
I'm just going to scroll down. There he is. I'm going to put him on mute. Mute.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. There we go.
He's on mute. Okay, sorry about that, guys.
That's okay. No problem at all. So the most important thing is that the angler's waders must be matched to the environment they're using them in. Travel waders are no use for saltwater. Three-layer waders are unlikely to be good for saltwater. Some manufacturers make waders that go for £100 or £900. If you're going to be in the harshest environment for a wader, you want to be in the upper end of it. You don't have to go to the top wader, but you want to be in the 5-layer, reasonably heavy-duty type stuff. So the first thing is getting the right wader. That might be a neoprene wader. If you're going to be in a dam working on bridges, then it's probably a PVC wader. For an angler who walks a lot, there are other choices. So first of all, match the wader to what they want it for. Second thing is, I won't sell a wader to an angler unless I get accurate sizes. And the amount of times I'll bounce back to them going, can you double check something for me? Because their sizes are completely impossible. You know, I look at them on Facebook and think, that person isn't 9 feet tall. They just don't need a 30. So we spend a bit of time doing that to get the right size. Once we've got the right size, we'll go back to them with a choice of waders. Now, that wader could be a used wader, because we sell used waders. It could be a new wader, and we'll discuss back and forward what the options are. Once we've got the right wader for the right environment, then I'm confident that wader will last for 2 years. And so the first year, you get the same manufacturer's guarantee that every other shop in the country does. And the manufacturer covers for that. At the end of the first year, send it back to me. We'll pressure test it, and we'll seal the seams. Now, by doing that, we stop the mold from happening, reduce the risk of that, certainly, and we stop any leaks. So that wader now doesn't leak again. You get, at the end of the first year, the wader is re-proofed, it's re-waterproofed, we know it doesn't leak. At the end of that time, I'm confident that wader lasts another year. This is year 3 of doing it, and we have never had a problem. We were worried. We thought, what would happen if somebody breaks a zip? What would happen if somebody puts a 10-inch rip in it? Hasn't happened. It just hasn't happened. So at the end of the first season, if you treat the wader properly, then it will last that extra time. And we buy the wader, we still discount it. You still get the same discount you've always got from us. So if you're buying a wader that costs £300 in the shops, we'd sell it for £265. Free delivery. At the end of the first year, you get a free service on that wader. You pay £10 postage, you get it back, and I'm quite happy to guarantee it for 2 years. And I'm not getting. And we're as busy as we want to be with that. We don't advertise because we don't need to, and it just works for us. I think
Amazing.
the key to it is matching the wader to the angler. I think that's
Sounds like it.
yeah, that's the key to it.
It's funny you say that, Dave, because I spend my life trying to match the line, the fly line to the person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you spend your life matching the wader to the person. And it's really something we need to take on board, is getting the right size waders to fit our body or different body sizes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave, you wanted to, sorry.
If you go into one of these forums and you'll see which wader should I buy, and you'll get a great list of, every single wader in the market. then the person will contact me and will find, they said, I see that the best wader for me is a whatever. And I'll look at the size chart of whatevers, and they don't fit that person. Doesn't matter how much they want them, they're not going to fit them. And that's why if that person bought that wader, 4 months into it, the wader's going to leak. And you can't guarantee that for 2 years. You couldn't do it. So that's why it works for us. That's why it works.
Okay.
Okay, so Dave, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? I think that we had mentioned a few things that wasn't on my list. That
yes,
yeah.
I think one of the things that we don't think about with our waders is the breathability and how it works. So if you don't wash your waders down regularly, they're not going to breathe. Simple fact. If you don't treat them with a durable water repellent about every year, let's say, a couple of years in, they're not going to breathe. And it's really easy to test it. All you do is lay a wader down and pour a cup of water over it. If that water doesn't bead and run off, then that wader is not breathing. That's a really important test. The second thing is we've got to think about what we wear beneath the waders, and not every product will work. Not every product will wick the moisture from you to the outside. Like I say, I'm no expert in that, but there are plenty of products out there that will do the job. And the third thing is we need to be realistic. The wader will not keep up with you sweating. It is not a pump. It will only allow that vapor transfer to happen in certain situations. And interestingly, I was fishing today and the fog came down. It's warm, humid, and wet. And my wader was working backwards at that point. My wader was pumping the hot, humid air moisture into my wader. It's not a one-way valve. They're just very small holes, and the water vapor in the air was able to move into the wader. Now, it doesn't happen at a huge amount because equally sweat won't move out the wader to a huge amount. But I tell everybody it's really important. If your cap is damp, if your shirt is damp, then it's completely impossible for your wader to breathe. At the end of that, the salt, the sweat on the inside of the wader is going to block these pores. So we need to wash the wader down. So the next most common question I get is, how do you wash your wader? The most effective way to wash a wader is to book the River Spey for a week and just fish that. Because the clean, cold water of the Spey will guaranteed wash your wader. But it's an expensive way of doing it. I find the best way. The Tweed will do, I believe. I've never fished it. The D works, I know that. But realistically, it's the inside you want to wash. It doesn't matter what's going on the outside. As long as the water's beating and running off the outside of your wader, it's going to work. Best way to do it to me is to throw it in the bottom of a shower. Just have a shower above it, then rinse it with lots and lots and lots of cold water, turn it inside out and dry it. Second thing, we need to be realistic. If you're wearing knee pads, your waders no longer breathe. Knee pads don't breathe, the pockets don't breathe, your belt doesn't breathe, the socks don't breathe. So if you come out the water on a nice day and you're not sure if you're wet or not, and your socks are slightly damp, wader's working fine. It's doing its job. If your belt's very, very tight, you've got an area of moisture around your waist, it's just not breathing through the belt. It's just pushed against you. And the water vapor your body's producing is hitting straight against the side of it, of the wader, and it's not working. So it's be realistic what the wader can realistically do. Makes life an awful lot easier for you. And I think that's it.
So, sorry. I was just going to say, so am I correct in saying that, because I tend to wash my waders like twice a year, but are you saying that actually you don't really need to wash them? If there's not a problem, you don't really need to wash them?
Absolutely, absolutely. Rinsing them off is all you need to do.
Yeah.
I don't like machine washing waders because I get them in occasionally destroyed by that. But that's actually quite safe. The back of your wader's got instructions on it. Tells you how to do it.
Yeah.
One quick question to everybody there. Do any of you have zips in your waders?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Have you ever cleaned the zip? The instructions in the back of the wader says you've got to clean the zip every month with a toothbrush. So if the sealing surface of the zip is the very thin black or green line goes up the middle of it. And if you zip a bit of nylon into that and pull it out, the wader will never be dry again. You've just cut the breathable membrane. Oh, there we go, some photographs. Now can everybody see that?
Yep, yep.
There we go. So we've got a little neoprene wader there. The customer had a medical issue and had to have a zip. So we managed to pop a zip into that one for him, and that was probably 20 years ago. So it's not as neat as it would be nowadays. Directly below that is a wader that was eaten by a mouse before we made our own socks. So we rebuilt the sock for him and watertight.
Dave, you were telling me that this is way more common than what one would think.
We got 3 in this week so far.
Mouse
But there's
eaten.
lots of damage. Yeah, mouse eaten waders. Yeah,
Pesky
yeah.
mice,
They go for the neoprene for their bed, I guess it's because it's warm. But you
Yeah,
see
makes
there, we
sense.
just cut that bit of the sock off, put a new bit on, put a bit of tape over the top of it, pressure tested it, sealed it in the inside, good as new.
Looks great.
And the thing about that one is that repair, there's no charge for that. That's part of the seam sealing process. So that customer didn't pay any more than somebody who didn't have that damage.
Okay.
Just makes sense. We're doing the job anyway. That outer bit is cosmetic. 5 minutes, no problem. Next photograph is mold on the inside of a wader. That's dead. You can make it watertight, but you can't make it watertight and breathe. It's completely impossible. There is no sealant on earth that is water that breathes. Simple as that. So because that mold is going through the membrane, it's breaching the membrane. At best, that's porous. It'd be okay for some anglers. You know, some anglers go to the knees, that would be fine. Above the knees, it typically is. But that wader is dead. You can never make that wader perfect again. The picture with Powell on it there, that's a non-waterproof jacket. It's made of a fleecy type fabric, so fleece doesn't bead water off very well. And we sprayed that on there because a customer said it didn't work for him on a ridgeline jacket. So I took that photograph of my ridgeline jacket and we sprayed it on. All he'd done wrong was he hadn't let it cure. He'd sprayed it, let it dry. It has to cure afterwards. And as you see there, we're pouring water onto it and it's beading beautifully. And that's not a waterproof jacket. And then the last one is, sorry?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the last one's a pair of leather shoes. I treated one and didn't treat the other one. And there's a bit of experiment. In the early days of this, we were pouring it on everything, car seats, you name it. It works well on car soft tops, actually. And it worked beautifully. So that was a little experiment we were messing about with. But I stress, leather shoes, it works. It's a bit of a party trick. but it doesn't last long. You can get a bit of tissue paper, spray it with Repel, hold it underwater, and it'll come up dry. And nearly all the towels in my house don't work these days because they've always been used for mopping up Repel. But a little trade secret, it works brilliantly on dry flies. If you treat a dry fly with it, it won't work on the riverbank. You can't spray it and use it straight away, but spray your dry flies, leave them in a radiator overnight. You can't sink them. It's completely impossible. And
Oh, fabulous.
we destroyed a 3-inch brass tube because it simply doesn't sink anymore. It stayed afloat for 24 hours. So, little added bonus there.
Could I
Amazing.
ask, what's the best way of storing your waders, please?
I don't like hanging them by the braces because that will
Right.
stretch the braces. But nearly every quality wader in the market is waist convertible. And they do that by having the 2 front buckles, one being male, one being female. So, and you roll it down and click those 2 together. So for storing your waders, by far the best way is to hang them by clicking the front 2 buckles together. That way there's no stress on the braces themselves. They'll last forever. And the wader hangs flat and straight at that point, so it doesn't get any permanent creases. We find that's by far the best way. If a wader's rolled up in a bag and it's tightly creased, before you unroll it, let it warm slightly, because the cold membranes can crack and split and become damaged. Very important, no mice, no direct sunlight, and you can't freeze them. If a wader freezes, the atmospheric moisture in the air forms on it, and the ice is like forming little razor blades. And we regularly get anglers saying to us that they put their waders away and they were perfect the last day of the season. And the first day of the season, they get soaked. First question is, where do you store them? If it's stored in the shed of the garage, they become frozen, defrosted, and the membrane's destroyed. And there's nothing you can do to fix that. That's it dead. It's in the same way as a saltwater angler. A lot of saltwater anglers think it's really important to rinse their waders afterwards, and it is. But when you're fishing in saltwater, you must keep them wet, because it's not the salt water that causes the problem, it's the salt. And you know those white scuzzy lines you get on your wader as they dry out? That's little razor blades. So if you're fishing in saltwater, keep them wet all day, wash them down, and then dry them. You don't want these little razor blades forming. It makes perfect sense when somebody who spends all day looking at waders tells you it's not a thing you would think about necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang them by the front 2 buckles, they'll be fine.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so Dave, I just want to say from all of us here, thank you so much for coming on.
Never a
It's
problem.
been an absolute amazing conversation that we've had. And I just would like to ask, are there any more questions before we call it an evening? And just thank you, Dave, for coming on. I can't
Never a
believe, how much, I mean, it always amazes me how much somebody can know about one particular subject. It's just amazing.
It's easy if you only know one thing. Don't ask me about fly lines. I don't know anything about fly lines.
What we should do is we should make sure that people can get in contact with you if they wish to.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
it's Dave Gordon, and Dave is in Aberdeen. What we're going to do is we should have actually put up your Facebook page or whatever, but
Yeah, the website's the best way. It's got lots of information on there on how to contact me, and it answers a lot of the questions before we get going.
Yeah.
So tell us what your website
I've got one last
is.
question.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
I don't do it, but people say that the last thing that you should wear under your waders is jeans. And I don't wear jeans, but is that correct?
Absolutely correct. Cotton will absorb the moisture. It won't transfer it away. So jeans are absolutely the worst thing you should be wearing.
Yeah, yeah.
There are really good
I
products
thought
out
I was
there.
right in that one, but people don't believe me. But I thought, no, that's it.
Can I give you all one very quick tip?
Yeah.
The softest part of your wader is the sock, the bottom.
Uh-huh.
So go to a supermarket and buy a cheap one-size-fits-all sock, a normal sock that you're wearing under your shoes now, and put that on the outside of the wader stocking, and then tuck it under your gravel guard and leave it there forever. That massively extends the life of the wader stocking. It doesn't matter if you're only wading to your knees, the stockings are in the water. Doesn't matter how long the waistband lasts. The feet are the important bit.
Sorry, explain that again.
Right, so you get a normal sock, like the socks you're wearing just now. and you put it on the outside of the wader stocking. So you put your
Right.
waders on, you put the
Yeah.
sock on the outside of the wader, tuck it under the gravel guard, and you leave it there forever.
Ah,
The stock acts as a sacrificial layer, and it takes the abrasion.
Ryan,
It's-
well, here we are with
Sorry? Yeah, so all that happens is that that sock takes the abrasion and not the soft neoprene of your waders.
oh, brilliant. That's a good idea.
It certainly helps. We
Okay.
used to do it 30 years ago, and they've stopped doing it.
Okay. Okay,
Another
thank
window.
you.
No problem.
So, Dave, can you please give us your website details?
Yes, it's wader-repair.co.uk. So wader, then the minus sign, repair.co.uk.
Okay, thank you.
That will get to
And
me.
can you just, for the people who's interested, can you give us a rough idea for, say I had a wader that had a couple of small holes in it. Roughly how much would that cost in pound sterling to
Okay.
repair?
So all tests are free because the test is for me, not for you. The test lets me know what's going on. So we don't charge for testing. 2 or 3 pinholes would be about £10 sterling. And so we test it, we send the report, we fix the pinholes, we retest it. Once we're happy it's totally watertight, £10. Worst case scenario, every seam leaks, 200 pinholes, 10-inch cut is £50. Doesn't matter what you do to it, the worst case scenario is £50.
Okay. And I think that's really important because
Yeah.
that sounds extremely reasonably priced
Well,
compared
it's
to going.
based on the day we started this, we agreed that it was to cover our fishing costs. And it back 25 years ago, it cost £45 to buy the glue to do the job that we did. So until about 5 years ago, it was £45. We put the price up to £50 just recently because we've changed the glue. We make our own glue now. We've had to change the solvents because they're toxic. So we're using a much safer solvent. We're getting away, instead of using 3 or 4 coats of sealant, now we're using 1 coat of sealant, and it soaks in and then sets in the seam. So it plugs every stitch hole. It's not particularly clever how it does it. It just sets in the wader. Worst case, the way we work it is I've got to remember all these prices as I'm walking down the riverbank. So we make one price for everything. So it doesn't matter what you've done to the wader, it's £50. So the mice eat the feet off is £50 if I fix it. Any alteration is £35. So if both feet fall off and I've got to put different feet on, it's £50 plus £30. Because if we do any major alteration, we always seam seal it. That way I'm guaranteeing the whole wader and not just one seam. Because I can imagine if it leaked 1 inch above that seam, nobody's going to believe me that it's they punctured it and it's not my fault. We'd love to charge more for neoprenes because they use 10 times the amount of sealant, but neoprenes are cheaper than breathables. So we just thought there's no point. One price and that's it.
Okay. Amazing.
And Dave, are you dealing with people near and far as well? It's not a
Our
problem.
records Australia.
Okay.
That was a brand new set of Sims that he put a Mars bar in the pocket and his puppy ate his way into it. So we used to rebuild the front of his wader. I find it difficult to believe that the Middle East we do a lot with. I didn't think they waded out there, but they wade in the salt flats for some reason.
Yeah.
America, a little bit. Problem is postage costs. That
Yes.
waders only cost so much. And if you've got a very lucky pair of waders and you want them fixed, or we're doing one just now where it's got sentimental value. So we're rebuilding straps on a thigh wader. We're making them out of leather. We're putting rivets in them and making them pretty for this chap because they've got some sentimental value to them. But yeah, Australia's our record. I don't think you can get any further from Scotland. But this after Brexit, we don't do as much because the costs are so much higher. One good thing was this last week, I speak to postage companies all the time, and I think we've managed to get the postage cost to Ireland right down. Fingers crossed. Breathables, yes. Neoprenes are just too heavy, but I think we can get them down to exactly the same prices as the UK, which would be wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah, we've managed to also get Rappel down to a reasonable price, just under £10. But that's £10 for 1 bottle, or it could be £10 for 4 bottles. So it's probably going to be viable to sell 4 bottles at a time to Ireland. It's not viable for 1. one bottle, we charge £9.50. So £10 of postage would be stupid. But for
Mm.
4 bottles, I think it's going to be worth it. So I'm working on that just now. I've not got there yet, but I'd like to be able to sell to Ireland. Ireland's a massive market for us before Brexit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and I
need to
think,
get
Dave, we were talking about working on that together as well. That there's some way that I can get it into Ireland and get it shipped around to the people who need it here in Ireland as well. So
I'd love that to happen.
Mm.
yeah, so hopefully that works out for us here as well.
Yeah,
I can
we'll
see.
get our heads
Hi,
together.
Margaret. We've got an Icelandic lady here as well from Iceland. Hi, how are
Very
you
good.
doing? So we've just about finished, I would say. Dave, I don't want to take up your entire evening, and
Not at all.
we've been here for
Been fun.
It's been great
No,
fun.
it's been
It's been
fantastic,
great
very
fun. It's just
informative. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
informative.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing discussion. Okay, does anyone have one last question for Dave? No.
And
Okay.
but answer them all.
I have
Dave,
a question.
Thank you so much. It's
Is
been a
that- is
real
that-
pleasure to have you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks very much for asking me.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.